All right, so I've got 3D Crunch chili cheese nacho. I've not opened these. I was waiting for you. I walked around the corner and squealed, literally out loud, when I saw these.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're celebrating the 800th Star Trek entry in the franchise.
Okay, these are definitely the two people to talk about the 800th Star Trek episode.
It's fine.
Right?
We're just going to celebrate. It's a milestone, Mike, okay? We're going to give them a milestone. In that case, we're going to be looking back at 2020 with some blanks down here I've written down, so we'll take a look at that and wing it. But also looking forward to 2021's busy schedule.
Yeah, hopefully busy schedule, right? I guess that it's still TBA. Really, humanity is still TBA right now.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and more. So
yeah, it's kind of fun. Sometimes we start this show on very specific time codes, so it makes me feel like a live radio host. Like we're in the middle of a conversation and we're about to come back from commercial, so we have to cut it off. But we were talking about ham and bean soup just moments ago before we read the intro. And I was telling Chris, this is the first time I ever made ham and bean soup. I guess people are always thinking about leftovers of like turkey and stuff on the holidays. Oh, we're going to make turkey soup. We're going to make turkey sandwiches.
Who's making turkey soup?
Nobody's ever recommending ham leftovers. So I had all this extra ham and I was like, no one's going to eat this. What am I going to do? I turned it into soup and it's delicious. And I have been told it freezes well. So I'm going to be freezing some of that. So I'm going to be eating ham and bean soup until the sun dies out, Chris.
There you go. Like I said, I was telling you, like that's kind of a once a month staple in our house. We make it kind of from scratch there a little bit. Like, you buy the ham, buy the beans, cook it in the stove with water. And it goes right with cornbread. That's the best part. I'm a big sweet cornbread fan. So that's where I'm at. But I was snacking right before this. I got my hands on the 3D Doritos bags, making Mike supremely jealous. So the chili cheese nacho ones I was saying are very much a bugle texture, bugle kind of shape with a closed end, but also use the chili cheese powder from the Fritos chili cheese fries, or chili cheese, I guess, chips. So it's a really, really good mix. I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad they're back, and I'm also glad you're really committed to the experience, and you went with just like a full abrasive, just sugar punch of normal Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Because
that's what it was like back in the day when 3D Doritos were out. Like you drank Mountain Dew with everything. Well, Mountain Dew hadn't quite yet had the negative image that it kind of has now for just kind of being like just nerdy gamer fuel. Ironically, they have a flavor called gamer fuel, which I really like. I think it tastes pretty good. But yeah, I'm glad you pot committed.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. And I'll tell you what most impressed me about these Doritos bags. 3/4 of the bag is full of chips. I know there are pockets of air because they're puffed up 3D ones, right? But like they actually, like, if you buy a bag of Doritos, half of it's air, right, for cushioning or whatever.
Chris, this will be something nobody cares about, but I can answer that question. Is the air inside of a bag of chips is called functional slack fill. That is the industry term for it, and that it's not quite air, it's usually like, I think it's like nitrogen or something like that, so not only does it keep your snacks fresh, but that is like a cushion for your snacks because chips are brittle and they break. So it makes sense that the 3D Dorito, a rigid snack system, could withhold more in a bag. So I learned that on a podcast like years ago, and now I tell anybody that will listen about functional slack fill.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, you get a bag of chips, and you're like, am I really getting my money's worth? And you just complain the first time you open it, but like I'm really impressed with how full this bag is. So when you pick them up, you'll be like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. But I was able to get both the chili cheese nacho and the spicy ranch. I've not tried the spicy ranch yet. Want to do one at a time. Don't mix the flavor palettes, so doing that. What have you been up to this week, Mike?
Yeah, it's a new year, which means we have just surpassed the Christmas holidays. So that means all of the Christmas movies, Christmas TV shows, Christmas TV specials, they're all out the window. They're all gone. We're not going to see them again until November. They're in my rear view mirror. I was glad when I was there, but now I'm glad that they're gone because I can get back to my normal streaming TV binging lifestyle, right? So we decided to check in on some new exclusives out there in the streaming world, and one that's been popping off on HBO Max right now is called The Flight Attendant, starring Kaylee Cuoco Penny from
the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I don't know how to say her last name, but she stars in The Flight Attendant, which is a Berlanti show, the same studio which makes all the CW superhero shows. So this is what I would consider more of a premium streaming series. It's only 8 episodes on HBO Max, and it was like a fun little kind of mystery thriller show where I was, following Kaylee throughout her performance, and it was pretty fun. There's some familiar faces if you watch other Berlanti shows, because obviously, you kind of stay within the entertainment family of which you act. In some cases, we see that a lot across Disney. So it was a fun little show. It's definitely set up for possible seasons moving forward, so it's not a limited series. But I would say this is almost a good experiment to see how Berlanti and maybe some of these CW directors and writers could possibly maybe elevate their work for more HBO Max premium stuff. We talk about that a lot on the show. Like, what is this Green Lantern show going to look like from Berlanti, right? Are they going to be able to flex a little bit more? Are they going to be able to maybe surpass and maybe overshoot maybe what they were doing on DC Universe with Titans and make something with really kind of broad appeal with lots of money? So I would say The Flight Attendant is a good hope. I wouldn't say it's like must see. I'm not gonna go tell people to get an HBO subscription just to watch The Flight Attendant, but it was there, and I was glad I was able to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard about it at all.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, it's on the banner every time you log in HBO Max, and then if you scroll down, I think it's in there. Like they're really pushing it, really heavy.
Yeah, I was just surprised, honestly, to hear about it from just, the grapevine, just casual conversations out there on the internet where people were bringing it up. That's usually when you can tell a show has at least met a certain threshold of like being popular, is if you hear about it outside of, the home banner, if you will. But yeah, that's The Flight Attendant on HBO Max. But the second one I want to talk about that most people might not be familiar with is called Back to Life, which is I never know what to call these shows. Is it a British show? Is it a UK show? Is it an England show? I don't know exactly how the geographic rings encompass the BBC-esque, but this is a across the pond show, if you will. And it's was recommended to my wife, so we just sat down and gave it a watch on Showtime, using the Showtime week-long trial because I wasn't about to blow all my money on the show I'd never heard of before. But it's just kind of like this nice little 6-episode season of a woman who goes to jail when she's a teenager for, it seems to be an accident, and what's it like adjusting to life when she gets out like 20 years later, I think. So it was nice. It was funny. But, those were just 2 shows that I got to watch, fresh right off of the holiday seasons, brand new stuff that I haven't seen, every year, since I was a child. So those are 2 streamers that you can go check out. But honestly, Chris, I love hopping on the podcast with you every week. I love catching up. I love talking to the fans out there. But honestly, all I really want to do right now is take these headphones off, abandon my computer, and go play Ghosts of Tsushima. Because I've just been having a grand old time with this game. I just get sucked into it for like hours and hours and hours. And usually I'm a short haul gamer. I pop in for like maybe 20 minutes to an hour, then I pop back out and I go do something else. But like, I've just been engrossed in this game. It's kind of this more of an open world concept. So I've just been exploring like the section of the island that I have unlocked right now. Been going on these little missions. It's a much more approachable game, I would say, compared to Sekiro, which is, I would say, that maybe the most recent and most popular kind of samurai game out there to compare it to. It's a lot more approachable. It's not as difficult, and just just a slog to get through because you just die so much. So I know I recommended Ghost of Tsushima last week, but I'm recommending it again. I had like this fun little map exploration moment where, you know, I was going along the map, you know, traversing the fog to unveil more of my mini map, if you will. And I came across this really cool kind of like elevated like rock surface where I was like, oh man, I can see from this hill that there's like some sort of like pool. There's like some sort of temple on top of this rock. I want to get on there, but like you can't get to it from the backside of the cliff, and like there's this little gap that you can't pass. So there's seemingly like no way that I can get to this area. And then, like maybe an hour or two later in the game, I start this mini mission where I'm trying to track down this samurai that's like supposedly faster than lightning or something like that, right? So it wants me to try to find his temple, and it's starting to point me back to that location I was a few hours ago. I'm like, I wonder if something's going on here. And then as the mission progresses, and I get closer, a storm comes in, lightning starts striking, and then I finally get back over to that area which I thought was inaccessible, and lightning had struck a tree and it had fallen over, and it had bridged that gap. And I was like, oh wow, this is really, really cool. This is just a really fun way to interact with the map. So yeah, I'm just having a great time. There's lots of really fun moments that you get to engage in with this game, and I feel like I'm just at the tip of this game right now. So I feel like I'm going to sink a lot of hours into this. So yeah, as soon as we're done with this podcast, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Back to it, huh? Well, I'm going to say I dove into my in-laws Netflix subscription this week to watch one specific show.
Did you see the just show me something button? What's it called? It's like it's almost like the I'm feeling lucky button that they just added from Google. I haven't used it yet, but
I did not, because I was specifically looking for a show called Aunty Donna's House of Fun.
What?
And so Aunty Donna is a comedy trio out of Australia, and I would equate them to the Australian version of the Lonely Island guys.
Okay.
So they were able to secure they do sketch comedy online, but they were able to secure the show on Netflix with producer Ed Helms, who actually shows up in an episode.
Okay.
They also bring in the guy who plays Homelander as a character, and Weird Al is in an episode as well. So they've got the 6 episode season. There's 22-minute episodes of just off the wall sketch comedy. They each one trying to tie us together loosely throughout itself, but like it's these guys just living in this house in Australia and what they do. So so it's called Aunty Donna's House of Fun. I would recommend it highly on Netflix. I mean, if you watch the first one, you don't like it, that's fine. But it's off the wall. It is lewd and it's crude sometimes, but it's just really, really funny. And if you've seen the Lonely Island stuff, you kind of know what you're getting into with this.
I'll have to go check it out. I mean, Australia is like this hidden gem of like content, right?
Yeah.
Amazon Prime just recently adapted a show I think it was an Australian show, starring Rainn Wilson. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I know they adapted that. There's a YouTube. I thought this might have been like adapted from a YouTube channel, because there's a really popular YouTube channel called Raka Raka, and I think that's Australia. It could be New Zealand. I don't know. Similar accents. You can't always tell them apart without context. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening down there in Australia. So I think I'll have to go check this out.
Yeah. So they're pretty funny guys. I listened to another podcast and they were guests on it, and that's when I found out about the Netflix kind of thing. I mean, it's, if you don't like the first one, that's fine. And you got 20 minutes or so, but like you can go. We sat down and watched it across 2 days, two little runs, and it's pretty funny. I had a good time, and my wife, I didn't tell her what it was. I just put it on, and she was laughing at some of the stuff too. So it's good.
That's what you got to do in a relationship sometimes. If you want to watch something, you don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness if it doesn't turn out well. Because I mean, it's like a coin flip, right? They might like it, they might hate it. You might as well give it a shot.
Yeah. So I would that would be my recommendation. Again, I don't have Netflix. A lot of these skits are on YouTube as well from this, like the Netflix ones. So you can check that out. But it's a pretty quick consumption if you're looking for.
Before I forget, this was something that you reminded me of, Mandalorian Season 2 making of documentary.
Yes.
I watched that last night, and it was great. It was exactly how I want to watch it, because instead of breaking it up into 9 episodes, which makes sense for the first season because it was like a brand new thing, so they had to talk about a lot of things individually. It was like feature length, right? I want to say it was at least an hour and a half, and they spend 10 minutes on maybe each episode, and they went in order. So I really, really like that formula, because it's almost like you get to revisit the season that you just watched in order, but you get to go you just get to go behind the scenes. Yeah. The only downside is I know it could have been a scheduling thing. Maybe it wasn't done until the last minute. They don't talk at all about the big reveal in the last episode, right? They talk a little bit about the after credit scene that they filmed, but they don't mention the end of the season really at all. And I was just like, oh man, come on. I hope maybe they do at least a standalone special or something about it, because it's worth exploring, even though some people are split on maybe the execution. I would at least like to know how they did it.
Well, as again, like I said, we talked about it. My guess, it was an 11th hour kind of thing. They were like, we're not going to do this till the very end, and we're going to do it in crunch time so nobody can leak this.
And also, I was also thinking of the leaks, right? In order to keep it really on the DL, you got to keep the documentary crew out of it as well. So, that's one thing that I was kind of hoping for. But, I'm hoping they circle back around to it. Maybe at the beginning of season 3, maybe the season 3 making of, they'll start it with that. I don't know, but I'm hoping to get a little inside info on that, even though we have industry insiders that have talked about it in general. I want to know it straight from the horse's mouth.
Right. Yeah, it'd be good to know, and just more Dave Filoni talking really is all we really want to hear his thought process behind it, because that's always the great stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue right into our first topic. We're actually talking a little bit about Disney Plus here. We were last week we did 2 reviews, one for Disney and Pixar's Soul on Disney Plus, and Wonder Woman on HBO Max. And Disney Plus over the holiday weekend had 2.3 million global installations of its app over the Christmas holiday, which
there you go.
That's huge. They were already big.
I don't know if you could do some quick napkin math here. 1, 2, 3. I got my calculator pulled up. What is it, $8 a month now for Disney Plus, right?
Not yet. The price change doesn't change until March or February.
I'll just go ahead and say 8 just for the sake of math. You're looking at 18. That's $18 million in revenue, and that's if these people just keep it for 1 month. Yeah. More than likely, I think they'll keep it for a couple. So it sounds like Soul definitely made its definitely is putting in the work that they wanted it to.
Yeah, the offerings and the holiday stuff. Again, I don't want to oversimplify, but it's global installation. So people share accounts. Was this multiple? Did kids get a bunch of tablets, and then you have to put on every kid's tablet? I'm not going to equate each one per account, but that is a huge number. These people are watching your Disney content. 2.3 million more installations that on top of the already. What did they say they had before that? I don't remember the numbers, but quite a few people on the service. On the flip side of that, HBO Max got 554,000 users signed up on its app over the Christmas weekend. So. Over 3 days there, so that's it's 500,000. It's not nearly as much as Disney Plus, but just for one movie, that's pretty good. To bump their numbers up a little bit there. And they said about half the people who had it on HBO Max watched Wonder Woman 1984 on opening day, Christmas Day. So.
Yeah, I'm curious how these numbers are going to trend over the next year, because Wonder Woman's just the start of the story, right? We're going to be seeing all these other big blockbuster movies hit day and date on HBO Max. I followed Jordan Voight Roberts, the director who did Kong Skull Island. He just tweeted out, I think it was maybe today or yesterday, that Kong is now finally on HBO Max.
Yes, it is.
Even talking about HBO Max, I totally forgot that we watched Ocean's 8 on HBO Max because it was a newly added item. So this just comes back around to the idea we talked about last week. At the end of the year and the beginning of the year is a big flux time for streaming services. So if you haven't visited a streaming service in a while that you already pay for, hit it up and see what their new arrivals section looks like. There might be some good stuff there.
Yeah, I mean HBO Max is our go-to. When I usually eat dinner or lunch, it's been a regular show, nice little 10, 11 minute segment there. But I was able to finish the last season of Rick and Morty's on there, and all other stuff. So HBO Max right now is my default streaming service with all their stuff. And they added, like we talked about, all the old Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy, stuff like that. It's now on there. Batman, the animated series, Batman Beyond. Yeah. So it's got some good stuff in there. But I mean, I want to see kind of what what do these numbers do? Is there anything in January that would keep? I mean, HBO Max, I don't know what their new movies are every month, to be honest, for the year, because some of them don't really appeal to me. But, am I going to hold on to this for, I guess, for, what is it, Snyder Cut, Justice League in March? So
yeah, I would assume we would be seeing some sort of new HBO Max series or HBO series, which is like HBO Max basically, but sometimes it doesn't get the extra 3 letters at the end of it, MAX, because the pandemic is really not going to start affecting a lot of these streaming networks. If they planned it out already. So I feel like HBO Max had this launch ready to go, so maybe we'll see some of those originals, but who knows? Who knows when the pandemic is actually going to start affecting the release of streaming TV shows, right? Considering some of them can go back into production. I don't know. Keep an eye on January. People aren't as eagle-eyed on HBO Max like they are Disney Plus, right? I feel like Disney Plus and Netflix, they get all the eyeballs, right? Yeah. What's coming to these streaming service in January? What's leaving in January? I feel like HBO Max is still trying to play catch-up a little bit, but I feel like they're going to catch up really quick, especially when they get like King Kong versus Godzilla and Dune. When these things drop on the streaming networks, they're going to have all the headlines.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed that the some of the Batman, the DC Universe movies are starting to show back up on there, like the Dark Knight trilogy. I saw Blade was on there the other day when I was kind of scrolling through HBO Max. So if you're looking for the original Blade, it's on there. The Mummy franchises, a lot of Tarantino films as well. So you probably have to go do a search, but I mean, there's a lot coming to HBO Max this month, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Star Wars, we were talking about at the top of the show. Temuera Morrison, who plays Boba Fett, Jango Fett, from the episode 2, he has 3 Star Wars projects lined up. This is the busiest man in Star Wars right now. He will be in his self-titled show, The Book of Boba Fett, which I believe is like the first production show to be into production coming up here. We don't know any much more about it other than it's on Tatooine and he's in Jabba's old palace. He's also be doing episodes, I guess, for The Mandalorian, is the assumption, a couple of those, and also making appearances in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which he will reprise his role as Clone Commander Cody in that show, since it is technically in the pre-New Hope era of stuff, and the clones age quickly, so he'll be age-appropriate in that range.
Yeah. Refresh my memory, what makes Cody particularly stand out from the other clone troopers?
Well, Cody. So there was Cody and Rex. Rex is the one Ahsoka was able to get the chip out of his head, and he shows up in Rebels. Cody stays with the clones and executes Order 66. He's like Anakin's #1 clone commander.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my assumption is he'll be working for Darth Vader or doing something, a different role in that range. When the Empire's kind of going on and they're conscripting stormtroopers rather than cloning them.
Yeah, trying to hunt down Obi-Wan. Oh yeah, I mean that's a whole storyline I didn't think of, right? That maybe the Obi-Wan show is about the transition from clones to conscription, right? Maybe they're coming down to Tatooine trying to kidnap children, and Obi-Wan's there, messing their shit up. But hey, yeah, that can be a fun story.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be down with that. So I mean, and like I say, age appropriate. Seeing an actual, we're used to seeing. The Rex was he was a good clone. He was able to be saved. So what is a clone who is fully knows Order 66 and is embracing the Empire? What does that look like even later?
Yeah.
So
he had a nice the actor Temuera Morrison, he had a nice little spotlight in that season 2 making of, and he just seemed genuinely happy to be there. He was having fun. He was like literally dancing around. So it seems like he's having like this I don't want to call it like third act because it's not like he's elderly, but it sounds like he's really reaching this like second part of his career that he's just really embracing.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
All underneath one umbrella as well, which is great. Wait till they put him in a Marvel series. I'm excited to to see that.
Oh yeah, I could see him like, maybe not carrying something necessarily because unfortunately he doesn't quite have the notoriety. But like, yeah, you could kind of like see him pop up in like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He could be like maybe like the head of like some sort of like Ravager group or something like that, right?
He's also from New Zealand, so anything Taika Waititi does, maybe Thor.
Oh yeah,
Love and Thunder. So he could definitely use that a little bit there. So I'd be excited to see him. Before I forget, did you watch? It was the Screen Junkies. It was their year in review where they did the what's it called?
Yeah.
I forget.
Was it? It was just like their honest trailers
for the year,
right?
yeah, with Patton Oswalt, and they specifically brought up the Boba Fett episode where he's smashing clone troopers' helmets in as like a highlight of this, like something we didn't know we need until we saw it. Kind of thing.
Yep.
So definitely love that. We're big Trekkies, Mike. The biggest Trekkies in the whole world.
Wow.
Right?
Yep. So huge.
Yeah, the biggest things about Star Trek. But I followed their stuff. I really like to watch their new Star Trek Discovery show. I hear it's good, but it's on CBS All Access, which I'm not really all aboard that. But I did watch Picard, which is cool. But apparently the latest Discovery episode, or the last one for the season, makes it the 800th entry in the entire franchise, including the movies and the animated shows as well.
That is a catalog, right? I mean, the only thing I could think of, like, I feel like real Trekkies, they're going to celebrate the anniversary and everything like that. And I'm just thinking like, wow, what a streaming catalog, right?
Yeah.
How much money would the Star Trek franchise sell for if anybody ever tried to sell it, right? That's just where my brain goes. We talked about Bond, last week with all of those movie entries. Like Star Trek is out there like almost touting, not too long till they probably get to 1,000, right? With all of these new Star Trek shows being a greenlit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled up the list, and there's a bunch, like the animated series. Some forget the original animated series. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yeah, I believe the creator of Star Trek said that is as canon as much as anything in the live action series is.
Yeah, and then there's like 10 movies before they did the remake, so I think there's like 13 movies overall. I mean, I didn't know this, but Star Trek: The Next Generation has 178 episodes. Deep Space Nine and Voyager both had 176 and 172 episodes.
Wow.
I'm like, if I ever want to get in this, I am just in for a long haul, apparently. So
yeah, you gotta really commit your life. I mean, just block out any other streaming shows because you're not gonna have time for anything else.
Yeah, and then lastly, on that, the Star Trek short treks, which are like mini episodes for Discovery, that are like one-off episodes, and then it tell like stories. And the newest Lower Decks cartoon count as in this as well. So I think that's really cool that they're able to. I mean, 800 is quite a bit. I mean, a lot of people compare it to Star Wars. I think it's a little unfair. I think they both exist in their own thing and have their own things going on. But like, yeah, I count 800 Star Wars, video properties? I don't think so. So
yeah, no disparagement to the Trek community at all. It's just not something that I happen to be into, but it just goes to show you how nerd culture didn't just endure; it transcended, right?
Yeah.
When Trek first came out, I only ever hear about people telling stories about how they were nerds and they were lonely, just people in their basement, just watching Star Trek, and now it's just like, you could make billions of dollars off of Star Trek, and it's just crazy.
Well, having like essentially 4 series going on at once, right? Like that's wild, and then possibly a Tarantino movie in the works down the road. So
yeah,
so I'm excited to see what the next film output for Star Trek is myself. Are you a big fan of The Office, Mike?
Oh, I am a fan of The Office. I've noticed recently that The Office, just like anything out there that gets popular in pop culture, seems to be starting to turn around, and people are now hating on it. I don't know if this is just weird Twitter discourse that comes across my timeline, but I saw like a tweet that got some engagement the other day that was just like, oh, now that The Office has left Netflix, maybe now people can go ahead and get a personality instead of watching it all the time. And I'm just like, whoa. This is a funny TV show. Just, I'm sorry it offends you so much. But yes, I like The Office. Like, no apology.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan. I did watch early stuff, but I never caught the endings or anything like that when the characters like left along the way. But I mean, nothing against it. But it is big news, when a show of this large, of this that defines essentially like a generation pretty much sometimes, moves streaming services. People get upset and up in arms, but it moved to NBC's own Peacock streaming service. But only, and you can watch the first 2 seasons online for free, completely without actually paying anything with their service, which is cool. But if you want the entire show, you have to jump on their $4.99 ad-supported plan. Which isn't bad, but this is where the cool part kicks in. And when the actual production company parent owns the streaming rights, they've actually taken and made extended versions of season 3 entirely, every episode, with additional scenes that were not seen on TV that had to cut for time and stuff like that. So I don't know why they started with season 3. Maybe that's where they started keeping this stuff. But I expect them to do this with almost every season of The Office on Peacock to show extra value. You're not just rewatching the same show over and over again. There's going to be something you didn't see before to watch it.
I mean, I think this is great, right? You know, yes, it's annoying when your show leaves and you got to subscribe to a new streaming service. If it's that much of a big deal for you, if you're such a huge fan of The Office, just go on like Apple TV or just go on Amazon and buy the Blu-rays and just like get off your couch, you know, like every hour or so and put in a new disc, right? But like I was telling my wife last night, like I pulled up Peacock just because I saw on our favorite app, Just Watch, you know, that there was something that we wanted to watch on Peacock. So you know, I pulled it up. We just have the free tier right now. There's nothing yet on there that has compelled me so much to pay for it, but I genuinely like their UI and I like their channels feature, which is nothing new. It's just basically kind of like almost live TV. I think some of the channels in that section genuinely are live TV, like the news. It's like an actual live stream that other people are getting like on their broadcast televisions. But then they also have these other channels, which I believe are just, you know, normal streaming content, just kind of like almost playing in a loop. And they must own the rights to a show called Poker After Dark. And some people might not know this about me, but I used to really be into poker. I loved playing it back in the day. And I actually enjoyed watching it on TV. I know some people totally roll their eyes and just want to kill themselves watching poker on television, but I actually genuinely enjoy it. And they just have like a constant stream of Poker After Dark on there, which is just like a bunch of professional poker players just like getting together for a cash game. And it's all like filmed, I believe, in Vegas, because all these people live in Vegas. But I was going to say, like, that's like a nice unique feature that Peacock has that I haven't seen on any other streaming services that I subscribe to. It's just like I can just pull it up, you know, if I'm not sure what I want to watch, or maybe, you know, in an era where I could actually have people over to my apartment, you know, I could just put something random up and just let it play. And, you know, if something shows up that's weird, I could just blame it on Peacock. Like, oh yeah, they're just streaming whatever. It doesn't matter. So I have to say, like, I would love to see that feature go to every streaming service. Like Netflix should just have live streaming channels, right? Netflix should just like take all of like the sitcoms that it has and just like jumble them up in a shuffle and just put them in a live channel. I can just hit play and you know, I can just start watching. You know, I don't know if that affects streaming contracts or whatever over there. So this is just us saying that Peacock has added value to it, and I'm glad that they have the hustle. This is almost kind of like the competition marketplace at play, right? You know, they know that they're in a competitive environment and they have to bring something unique. So they're giving you extra Office for you Office freaks out there. So, yeah, I'm curious how much actually it is extra, right? Like, is it just like an extra joke? Is it like maybe 2 minutes of deleted scenes that you may have seen on the DVD? Either way, it's cool that they're adding it.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, these were not on DVDs. Like, they weren't on anything else. Like, this is the only place you can watch it. So I assume that's why it's already edited in together kind of deal. So that's cool. And they also have the curated streams, kind of like Disney Plus does, right? Like you go to the Simpsons curated and you can see, here's all the Treehouse of Horror episodes, or here's all the Simpsons Predict the Future. Well, they're doing that with The Office as well. So you can go, you know, pick your ones that you want to watch that are like, I don't know. I don't know what they have. I didn't go see it, but I thought that was a pretty cool feature.
I think like almost every season has like a Christmas episode, like an Office Christmas party. So I'm sure there's a Christmas playlist. Yeah. I'm sure there's like a Halloween one, you know, any sort of like holiday, sitcoms usually make an episode about. There's probably one of like, just the Jim and Pam, like love.
I hope there's a Creed episodes. Highlight playlist.
Oh, Creed. Yes. If I'm not scubaing, what's this all been for?
Yeah. Or my favorite, again, where you show up on Halloween, is like, I got lucky. today's Halloween, and just covered in blood.
They should just have a joke one that's just every episode is just the Pretzel Day episode over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, isn't that essentially how Mint Mobile works? On Ryan Reynolds, it's just that one movie over and over again.
Yeah, it's just that Ryan Reynolds movie, right?
Yeah. So check it out. Office on Peacock now. We're gonna talk some stuff about Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Studios. The Disney's latest calendar. I saw this. That they released has October 7th, 2022 release date as an untitled Marvel movie. I've not added it to our page yet because I'm still just verifying if it was like a typo or something, because I'm like, I don't know what this is. That would put maybe 4 or 5 movies that year for Marvel, which would be a huge year. But they're pushing forward, so it would put it between Captain Marvel 2 and Black Panther 2 of that year. So my guess is this is most likely Blade, because October of 2022, and they've announced it already, right? Like they announced it before Black Panther and Captain Marvel. So
yeah, I mean, who knows how much the pandemic is just like shifting movie months. We've had this conversation on the podcast ever since we started making our show like 6 years ago, right? I think we're coming up on like the 6th anniversary. I think we started recording our show in in January, right?
Yeah.
I think it's when the first episode came out.
We are essentially this would be our essentially the first of that year. 2015 would be this episode. Yeah. So I mean, for the last 6 years on this podcast, we've always been talking about, release dates for movies, right? January, the dumping month, how summer keeps coming earlier and earlier in the summer months, December being those big blockbuster movies, and then this weird kind of like fall area, right? October. I feel like Venom might have been one of the first movies to really kind of stamp its foot down and say, hey, you can actually pull in some box office dollars on October. Well, I think wasn't it the first It was before that?
Was it? It might have been. Yeah, it might have been. But Venom could be the first maybe idea that maybe something outside
like
of
a tentpole, not rated R. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder, is the MCU putting something in October just because it's the only month that it really has availability, or are they making a claim to October? Like, oh, this is going to be a new month. This is going to be a month people can actually make money in now. It just doesn't have to straight up be like a scary movie. Even though Blade, does have vampires in it, I don't think it's going to be a scary movie. It's going to be an action movie with vampires in it, just like Blade was, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's cool. Yeah, I hope they can change October, because there is that moment, like once August and kind of the beginning of September dries up, you don't really have much to look forward to in the cinema until like November.
Yeah, and I think again, as we've talked about, starting with this year, the landscape of cinema will change, whether it's for better or worse. I don't know what that is, but I think that October 7th will make it the 5th Marvel movie of that year. October is notorious for Halloween and spooky things, so I think Blade would be an awesome fit for this. The other options again are Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Fantastic Four, but I don't think they really fit in here. I don't think they'd be ready for those by this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, I could possibly see Ant-Man coming in a month like that. Yeah. But I don't think they would debut Fantastic Four in October. I mean, that's got to be. I feel like that's got to be a premium time, right?
Yeah, and also literally all of 2022 are sequels. So if you're gonna put something in here, it needs to be you don't need another sequel in a year full of sequels, right? Like try to put it in something new. Again, like it says, unannounced. It could change. It could just take it off the docket completely. Who knows? But I think Blade would be a solid choice. On the other side of that, there have been tons of reports that actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt has spoken with Marvel Studios, probably for a role. He's an actor.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah. This led me down not really so much of a rabbit hole, but I did a little bit of research, right? Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt has had a very interesting career, right? He started off on the sitcom Third Rock from the Sun, which I really, really liked. I think that's really, really good. I don't know where it's streaming now, but if you haven't seen it yet, it's worth a shot to go check it out. But from there, his career's kind of morphed into like he was like in some like teen movies, and then he started to elevate himself into some bigger films. So So, and then it seemed recently he's kind of dropped off, right? I don't know if it's been choices in what he's decided to do. I know he has a side project. He has like his own kind of like website called Hit Record, where it's kind of like user generated stuff. So I don't know if he's just decided to lean more into that recently, but the only way that you can really like gauge like a celebrity's like career without a lot of intensive research of like maybe box office and deals is you just go over to Google Trends, right? So I put Joseph Gordon-Levitt into the Google trend and I kind of analyzed his spikes. And the biggest spike he ever had was when Looper came out. I believe that was 2015 or 2012, I believe is when Looper came out in September. And that was his biggest spike he's ever had on Google Trend. So I wouldn't necessarily say maybe that was the peak of his career, maybe critically, but I think that's when he had his most mojo, was right after that film.
When did Inception come out? 2010. So
Inception was just a couple years, so he had a spike right around Inception as well. Yeah. And then he was also in Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises,
so he 2012 as well.
Yeah, he was on this rise too. And then like I believe 2 years later he had that Don John movie where he kind of played like a yoked out New Jersey kind of just like, you know, douchebag. I think maybe he might have written or directed that movie. I thought he had some sort of hand in it, and that's why maybe he was doing it. But I feel like after he did that,
he did both.
It wasn't a horrendous movie. You know, I watched it. It was fine. Scarlett Johansson was in it. So it wasn't anything that should have ended up in a dumpster. But I feel like his career after that, like, he just wasn't quite the big movie heartthrob, right, that he was. You know, infamously, I talk about it on the show that Looper was ruined for me in theaters because there was a bunch of, like, teenage girls behind me making noise the whole movie because Joseph Gordon-Levitt brought them to the theater, right? You know, he drove them to the theater because that's what he was. So it seemed like he was on this huge trajectory that just dropped. So hearing, you know, kind of rumors that he could possibly be talking with Marvel Studios does make me think, like, you know, do they see like untapped potential in Joseph Gordon-Levitt, for a feature? Would he be starring in something? You know, I know Iger and Feige has said that the streaming series are the same quality of their movies, just in a longer format. But, you know, I could see them maybe going for a maybe slightly budget on maybe some of their streaming stuff, at least with hiring actors, and maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt he's a little cheaper now than what he used to be at his prime.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just going off the bad taste that, what was it, Powers? Is that the
Project Power?
In? Project Power, yeah, that left a bad taste in my mouth. So, you know, I know it's probably no fault necessarily to him, but, you know, when I look at his character, I feel like he could play a really good villain in my mind. You know, I don't, you know, even though he's played a lot of leading men, I think he would be a really good, complicated villain. Well, so I don't know exactly where you place him into the MCU with that.
Well, so here's my thought. So I mean, looking up his work before, I think he just didn't, like, the only big project he took that I know of between Looper and now is Snowden is the only other one I could pick out of this list, right? Like, or the Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, that nobody really watched.
Oh yeah.
But like the other ones, like he was a voice in Knives Out, he was a voice in The Last Jedi, but like anything else, I couldn't tell you what these were.
He did in 2015. He did the movie The Walk, which was kind of like an adaptation of of Man on a Wire. You know, that documentary about the person that walked between two buildings. And it seems like he probably made that decision because it was directed by Robert Zemeckis. But, you know, I don't really remember a whole lot coming out of that.
Is that
movie.
Not like a 3D movie, or was it an animated kind of movie, or just?
No, it wasn't animated, but I mean, it was in 2015, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the marketing was revolving around the 3D experience.
Yeah, 100%. Where I would put him, to be completely honest, is probably Moon Knight as a villain. Is actually what I was thinking when I got this news. Like, you know, he would be great cast opposite Oscar Isaac once they confirm him. He would be awesome. You know, he's got the physicality to do that. Like, you put him in a suit, right? Like, he's an intimidating man. You could also, I don't know if he'd be great in She-Hulk as a villain in a comedy kind of way, right? Like, would he be some sort of mob boss villain in She-Hulk either? But those are, I think those were the two I put. I couldn't pick him in a movie unless you wanted to drop him in Blade.
Yeah, I mean, the only hero that maybe crosses my mind would be Mr. Fantastic, but I just don't know if he has quite the presence for the character. But I still really love the ultimate version of Mr. Fantastic, where he kind of goes crazy and becomes a villain.
Right.
So that could be fun to watch if they go that way. I know everybody out there, since we were just talking about The Office, everybody wants Jim from The Office to become Mr. Fantastic. And I would be fine, but I almost don't want it to happen because I don't want Marvel to placate the fans all the time, right?
Well,
I want to be
don't
given
either,
something that...
So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I want to be given something that I don't know I want, not something that I'm telling you to give me. So, who knows? But Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I would be happy to see him return to a bigger scope because it seems like he's kind of fallen off a cliff. Like he fell off that wire between those two buildings, right? And never quite got back up.
Well, I don't even know if he got. I don't think he's tried to get back up. I think he is. I mean, just by looking at his stuff here, it looks like he's kind of just been kind of doing what he wants to do for a while, and maybe he's due for not necessarily a comeback, but a rise to prominence, if you will. Back to the form because the last superhero he played, he was essentially John Blake, who we find out is Robin at the end of the movie, which is like one of the worst parts of that whole Dark Knight trilogy from Nolan. So I'd be cautious myself.
It should be stated, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a rich, beautiful man in Hollywood. He does not need our help. He does not need our encouragement, right? He's going to be fine no matter what. This is just all superficial analysis of his career.
Exactly. And I think he could do, like I agree with you, villains where I thought, like, you're going to put him as a villain in these movies, not necessarily he could be a leading man, that's fine, but, I think... do a turn like Christian Bale is the villain, right, in Thor: Love and Thunder, and go down that route. Maybe you put him. Is he an X-Man? Is he like a Cyclops?
Oh, hey, actually, yeah, I actually would like that idea because then he's more of an ensemble, right? He's not quite carrying the whole thing on his own.
Well, look what they did in Inception with him and Tom Hardy and everybody is that team.
Hey. I like that idea too. Yeah. Maybe Cyclops. Yes, I'm getting Cyclops vibes from him a little bit. He always kind of has that kind of slightly arrogant edge to him. So yeah, which usually probably is what made us think villain. But yeah, maybe Cyclops. Yeah.
Oh, we'll cross that bridge.
You heard it here. You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how wrong we are next year when they do this.
Yeah.
Speaking of She-Hulk, we were just talking about it. The rumored episode count is actually be 8 to 10, more than 6, based on some interviews with the directors this week. Again, we don't know what the effects budget will be on these, but they are half-hour comedies, not necessarily full hour-long dramas. So,
also, my thought is, if you're taking something like WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you're taking legit cemented movie stars and asking them to do a TV show, which is a big time commitment, right? So maybe you do have to do 6 to 8 episodes. But if you're hiring Tatiana Maslany, who is famously from TV, asking her to commit to 8 to 10 episodes is not difficult at all. So these things could change, maybe once these big Hollywood A-list Marvel MCU celebrities realize the future is in all these streaming Disney Plus shows, maybe they will open up and free their schedules a little bit and be like, I can do a couple more episodes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the show she was on was hour-long episodes, right? Dramas?
Yes.
So half-hour comedy is probably a lot less, probably a quicker budget, right? Like probably a a faster turnaround in terms of production. So, for sure. So yeah, that's cool with She-Hulk. I'm down with more episodes. Good with me. I'm down with that. All right, so now we're into the meat of the show, Mike. Let's jump into some of the stuff the news is over. We're going to talk about what we want to, what are we looking forward to from last year? The best of 2020. There's not a lot to go off here, to be completely honest.
This is very true. Yeah, usually when we do these segments, it's just like, okay, let me pull up the list of all these movies came out this year. Let's look at our list of spoiler casts. Let's really go through this, analyze all the superhero movies, and it's just like, yeah, we don't really have a whole lot to go off of, right?
Yeah, we really, really don't. And there are things, that some of these will fit into our mold of what we talk about on the show. Some will not fit into the mold of what we talk about on the show. Some have just not had a chance to watch. Like I was going to say, the Queen's Gambit everyone talks about, right? Like I've just not seen that myself, so I'm sure it's a great show, but we're not nixing it because it's just didn't watch it, right? So at the end of the day.
I haven't had a chance to check it out, but yeah, everybody says it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I believe them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what I've heard. So yeah, so I was gonna start with just real quick the best of 2020 show. To me, I think The Mandalorian saved the end of the year by a long shot. I thought Watchmen was this year, but Watchmen actually ended in December of last year. That feels like forever ago. So rather than focusing on, I was trying to figure out like what episodes did we watch this year. I think The Mandalorian really knocked it out of the park with, again, the big reveal at the end of the season, the reintroduction of Boba Fett and his, again, the stick where he breaks people's armor is pretty awesome, and just
that was great.
And just overall, the last half of the season really upped its game. And I forget, this is probably the bigger news we had was the Ahsoka being in this, and I'm like, oh yeah, she didn't really even steal the show in the back half of the season. So, to me it was, I think, Mandalorian, but again, there could be more. I just couldn't think of anything else off the top of my head that came out this year that I was like, yeah, this is really took me out of this. So what about yourself? What do you got on your list?
Yeah, I mean, this is unrelated to the content we usually talk about on the show, but I think easily my favorite show for many reasons this year was Ted Lasso, which is over there on Apple TV Plus. I mean, it's just an absolute delight, and it's honestly, it's medicine. This is what you need for the year 2020. You just need a bright spot that just renews your faith in humanity. There's not an edge of cynicism to this show at all. It's just hilarious. It's talking about a world and sports, something that I'm just like totally not into, but it just makes me engage with it and really, really like it. Jason Sudeikis just has a great, just a really infectious performance, and I just had a friend reach out to me, I think just a couple hours ago before we started recording, and he was just like, just finished Ted Lasso, thanks for the recommendation. And it's just great. It's exactly what people need, and I would still love it even outside of 2020. So, even though there's lots of great, nerdy streaming stuff out there to watch, you got to go watch Ted Lasso. It's so good. It's worth whatever price you have to pay to watch on Apple Plus. Like I'm saying, I don't know if you have a trial you can do. I don't know if you just want to pay for 1 month, or who knows, maybe they do prorated. Maybe you can just like pay for a month and then cancel after 1 week after you watch it, and then get part of your money back. I don't know how they do it over there at Apple Plus. I bought something I think I bought a MacBook, and I got a year free of it. So I've just been coasting on that. So Ted Lasso it's just been great. I love it so much.
Apple TV, the app, is also on everything. You don't have to own an Apple product. You can get it watching your PlayStation, your Xbox. Most TVs now have it. So I thought you were going to go with Lovecraft Country.
It didn't. The season, we didn't really talk about it too much on the show because I know you weren't watching it, so we didn't really have a lot of opportunities to really dive into it. But it didn't really stick the landing. Season 1 didn't really stick the landing for me. Yeah. So I'll still be sticking around for season 2 for sure. But yeah, it didn't quite really nail it. So that's why it wouldn't make my number 1 spot.
Yeah, I saw it all over the place kind of thing. And I was like, maybe that'll be my choice. I also want to give recommend I guess commendations to both the Umbrella Academy season 2 and Boys season 2. I think
yeah, for sure.
They're both great in the time, but I don't think they didn't really transform the future of, I guess, TV or like the universe in the way, like I said, The Mandalorian did in my book. So that's why I got to give them some runners up.
Yeah, and exactly. And you don't have to. Not every TV show has to like literally change the world of pop culture or the way film and TV is made. Yeah. But if you want the number 1 spot, usually that's what you're looking for.
You got to hit these little check boxes for us, and definitely within our wheelhouse too. So that's definitely a plus. So and then other terms, that best of 2020 movie, I don't have anything written down here because I was like, what is the best movie this year?
Yeah, I mean, this one's really hard to nail down. I mean, if you just look at the movies we talked about on the podcast, we got Birds of Prey, Bloodshot, New Mutants, and Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah. I mean, we did throw Tenet in there just because so we could add something. So I mean, I don't really think any of those movies are my favorite movies of the year, or at least anything that is really, really at the end of the day super memorable.
Something I'd recommend to people to watch, and I'm like, I don't know if any of these fall under that.
I mean, Onward came out this year on Disney Plus. I think was it slated for the holidays at all?
No,
I just don't remember.
Onward was in theaters, and I saw it. It was literally the pandemic hit a week after. They closed all the theaters the week after it came out, so they rushed it to Disney Plus.
I mean, I liked it. You know, I've actually been watching Inside Pixar on Disney Plus, and there's a whole segment where they I think it's the last episode or the most recent episode they put up where they talk to the director of that movie of his kind of like, you know, his process of coming up with an idea for the movie. And it did kind of make me fondly remember. I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of a fun little adventure of going through that little mushroom kingdom city, if you will. But I don't know. I don't know if I could pick an absolute favorite, but I think the biggest surprise movie for me this year was Netflix's Eurovision Song Contest, which I know is
it feels like
just sounds absolutely
ago.
crazy. Yeah, it's also just sounds kind of crazy just because, like, you know, Will Ferrell, his kind of overall quality of the movies that he's delivered over the last couple of years is kind of all over the place. It really just seems like he's out there just, you know, trying to make that green, you know, and you know, good off for him, you know, kind of cashing in on his, you know, prestige out there in Hollywood, his comedy prestige, if you will. But yeah, it was just a nice little fun surprise. The songs in it are infectious. Me and my wife still sing them and talk about them today. I honestly think that the big show-stopping song at the end of the movie, that should be nominated for the Oscars. It's just such an amazing song. There's legitimately like laugh out loud funny parts. You know, just I don't know if it just really didn't quite pop off with maybe some critics, but me and my wife had a great time watching that. It was just a nice little gem to get. I believe it came out late summer, and I think the Eurovision Song Contest is maybe earlier in the year, but that got canceled from the pandemic.
Yeah,
so,
it was like the movie. I think when we talked about it, the movie was supposed to come out way earlier than it was, but everything got pushed back, so they were like, Netflix it.
Yeah, so I don't know if I would necessarily say it's my best of 2020, but it's definitely a standout surprise.
Yeah, I would say to me. I agree. Onward, definitely. Bloodshot was not nearly as bad as I expected, which, you know, that's a credit in and of itself. But we forget Chris Hemsworth Extraction on Netflix this year was.
That was nice.
It's not groundbreaking. It's Call of Duty the movie, right? We've talked about that. But at the same time, you know, seeing Russo brothers produced movie with Chris Hemsworth was a pretty fun surprise in the middle of the year when we could use a pickup. So, I definitely think with that, I give that some clout. So I'm like, yeah, you did good for us. So for that. On the flip side of that, I want to talk real quickly about the worst of the year. Okay, the whole year as a whole, awful. For shows, did you have any shows you were like, man, this is just awful, and I never want to watch it again?
So I mean, this is like a really difficult ask, right? Because usually the really, really bad stuff you try to block out, you know, and not remember. So. Yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe what disappointed me the most over the year. Do you have any off the top of your head?
One I definitely didn't watch, but I mean, it's because I know what I was getting into, and that is 100% Hellstrom. For sure. Or if you just want to, you know, group in Quibi as a whole.
Quibi as a whole, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, they got some good stuff. I didn't see a lot of horrible things. I know a lot of people were really upset with Space Force that I didn't watch.
Oh yeah, I only watched. That's also the thing too. When you're talking worst TV shows, something has to get you pot committed to it, right? To watch all of it, because I can tell you a lot of one episode things that I didn't like. You know, there's an animated show on Netflix called Hoops. I only watched one episode of that because I really didn't like it. I only like what you just brought. What did you just bring up?
Hellstrom or
no, just before, right after that.
Space Force.
Space Force, yeah. We only watched one episode of Space Force because I didn't like that. So why would I continue on something like that? You know, usually it's worst movies. I feel like get the most play because you sit down and usually even if it's bad, you kind of sit through it, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, you're committed to something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I overall, I didn't think there was much. You know, I didn't watch a lot, but you know I'd heard some stuff kind of throughout the whole thing. So
the critical and fan response to Amazon Prime's Upload was really, really strong from the same creator of Space Force. But I think maybe we sat through a second episode of Upload, but we did not like that show at all. So I know we're really on the other side of the fence with that one. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that really like that. But those were definitely some shows that were not very fun for me.
Then on the other side of that, the worst movie we watched this year. anything sticking out in your mind? Because I got a home run, like one that's gonna
what's your?
It's
home
gonna
run,
be
Chris?
Jiu-Jitsu with Nicolas Cage. It's gonna steal this one.
Oh yeah, right.
I know not everyone watched it, and there's a reason why you shouldn't watch it. But good God, did that just take me out of this? I mean, it just was not a fun time at all, man. Like I try. I mean, I laughed a lot, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, this hurts. This hurts to laugh at this. I don't want to do this anymore. So Jiu-Jitsu's for me. But in terms of everything else, I think the biggest letdown I think was Wonder Woman. I hate to say that, but I mean, because of how good the first one was, we expected more and better the second. I don't think it met our anticipation, our goals for that. So
yeah, it was definitely, unfortunately, a disappointment. If you follow me on Twitter, or if you happen to be friends with me on Facebook, it was driving me so crazy. We talked about it in the spoiler cast for it, and I'll keep it vague just in case you haven't seen it yet. But in the final confrontation between Diana and the main villain of the film, she one-ups the character at the very, very end to save the day. But they never show you how. And I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it, so I booted HBO Max back up on my computer. I was taking some like kind of frame-by-frame screenshots, and yep, they never showed it.
Yeah.
The pivotal moment where Diana, outsmarts the villain and saves the day happens off-screen and is 100% unexplained. Trust me, I watched it 3 or 4 times. Some people might be able to offer maybe some explanations of maybe what Patty Jenkins wanted us to think what happened in that scene. I was even looking at the lighting, right? Because the lasso is involved, so I was looking to see, where's there like a yellow glow? Is that indicating when something happened? It's just not in there at all, and it drives me absolutely crazy. And that just hammers home like the biggest problem we had with the movie is just nobody was really taking the plot seriously. And I've actually seen a lot of very interesting rumors and theories recently about the film, about how a lot of this kind of messiness might be a fallout of the Zack Snyder universe crumbling when the script was first in development. So there's a lot of these ideas that maybe we're going to lead into introduction of other characters and other heroes and other plot lines and storylines. And they're just
I don't think that would have been any better.
Filmed it, they're just like, yeah, we got to cut it all. So yeah, some of these theories out there are holding some weight in my mind, but who knows? Maybe we'll get some behind the scenes insider info sooner or later.
We'll see when she goes to do Star Wars what info comes out from this. So for sure. Well, there's our best and worst of 2020. Now let's talk about what we're looking forward to in 2021. We can probably run through this one pretty quickly or make some predictions as we go. But we've talked about a lot of these. Marvel did their big thing earlier this year. A month ago or so ago with the Disney Plus stuff, where they talked about the TV shows and I believe the movies were there as well. They talked about them, but
they touched on the movies.
But there's also some other things coming out this year that are not Marvel related, and that's perfectly fine. So we're gonna kind of jump through here. Again, we are a week away, a week and a half. We are less than 2 weeks.
We are 2 podcast episodes away from talking about WandaVision.
Yes. So we'll get some answers on that. They're really upping the, I guess, promotional for that. Like there's Instagram ads and they're doing images and all sorts of stuff teasing up for this. So I expect a pretty good jump on that. And then following up with that is the next Disney Plus show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in March.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm excited for WandaVision. Finally excited to return to the MCU. But I think I'm most excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier out of the 2 of those, just because, like, usually when I crave Marvel, I crave the action and I crave the adventure. And I think WandaVision could critically probably end up being the better of the 2 shows, with the creativity and the exploration of the characters and, the emotion of the whole story. But with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just want to watch stuff blow up and I want to watch Bucky stab stuff with a knife, So that's just my lizard brain. Most excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I am wholeheartedly embracing both shows.
Yeah, I think WandaVision has the most question marks above its head, right? Like we don't know anything about it. There's a dead character as the star of the show. Like we don't even know what's going on here. Introducing other characters, but I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier also returning to a lot of stuff the Russo brothers set up across their other films, right? Winter Soldier, Civil War, all this other stuff. So I'm excited to see their story continue and how does that past come back to haunt those characters as they move forward. Beyond that is Morbius, which was trending earlier today on Twitter, Mike.
Why?
Because I think there was a question, what movies are you looking forward to in March? And most people forgot Morbius was this year, and Morbius was forgot. Like, oh yeah, there's a Morbius movie that was supposed to be out by now. And I'm whether it's good or not, this is an indicator of it. But as of right now, Sony has it scheduled for March 19th, the same day as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, We'll see.
guessing this is I'm guessing this is the point in time to talk about it, because we're talking about movies of when will movies come back and when will they actually have their date cemented in stone, right? At least here in the United States, I don't even think we're quite on track for vaccination pacing to be in June, which is the date that I think a lot of the government was hoping for. So I don't know if we're even gonna make that June date. So is just March is that aspirational? Or I saw that Wonder Woman, I believe, raked in $100 million internationally. So are they just gonna hope that international just kind of bolsters maybe just the cost of making the film, and then maybe streaming or premium video on demand will kind of maybe bring it back up to pace? I'm not 100% sure what their domestic United States plan is at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, Sony's got a weird release date schedule. Ghostbusters is on here, but again, we're not. We know we have Ghostbusters fans who listen, but we're not the Ghostbusters guys, right? But what is their plan? What are they going to do? How is Japan treating this? How are those other markets going to handle this with Sony? And I don't know. Maybe it'll be a short release schedule, theater for a couple of weeks, and then buy it on demand, or not on demand, but kind of thing. But
I don't know about you, Chris, but I feel like you'd agree with me. I'm totally okay watching Morbius in the comfort of my own home. I don't need the theater experience for this.
I
movie.
100% agree, and it's not something I'm aching to go out and do it in the theater. But we'll see how this goes. It could move. That's all. This is fluid, right? Except I think the streaming stuff isn't fluid, but everything else seems to be fluid.
Yeah.
The other one is The Kingsman was moved. This has had like 8 release date changes. This was supposed to be September of 2021. And they put it up to March. So I think they're banking, like you said, on international markets, diving into the Kingsman, especially like England and stuff like that.
But, this one is a Fox/Disney property, so I don't know if this would necessarily drop on Disney Plus. But who knows? Maybe it could have an exclusive Hulu premiere. In the United States, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I think they've put a lot of money into HBO Max and Disney Plus. But what is the Hulu? What are we getting? They have Star in other countries, right?
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
Where this kind of goes to. But the Kingsman being rated R, it ain't going to Disney Plus. And if it is, it's going to be hopefully under one of those adult things, but I don't think they're going to do that in America. So definitely, hopefully Hulu. We'll see if this gets another release date change, but I think, like you said, they're banking on an international market for Kingsman. On streaming services, also in March, we've been told Justice League, the director's cut, is coming. At least book 1. Now, that's what he's that's what he's starting to call them, is book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4.
No, Snyder, what are you doing? I saw that there's a new hashtag trending. It's a Save the Snyderverse, I think is what it is. People are just begging to save. It's just, I can't have this conversation anymore with these people. He did not make good movies.
Yeah.
There's some interesting parts about the films that he made, but overall, I think any person who's ever been in a debate club or a debate class, or maybe they're professional debaters, could very easily argue for that side, that he did not make good movies.
No,
so,
well,
I don't know.
He wrote himself into
It's okay. It's okay to like them, but a lot of people did not respond to him well, hence where we are now.
There are a lot more options if you don't acknowledge what he kind of wrote himself into in a lot of those, right? So I think there's opportunities there, but I'm interested to see what this looks like. Do I watch all 4 individually? Do I watch the big final compilated cut? I don't know yet. So, but starting in March, book 1, so we'll start to see what this looks like going forward from that. And hopefully by May we can watch Black Widow again. That's
a year late.
The second time it's been in May. It kicks off the summer movie season. Is there even a summer movie season anymore? I don't know.
That's going to be a big pivotal moment, right? Because May, that's right around the time where maybe some people will have some of the vaccine. Who knows? Maybe some theaters and some smaller parts of the United States will start opening up where they don't have to worry so much about large population control with the virus. But I've seen so many reports of professional, scientific community saying that, we're probably not going to be back to normal until possibly 2022. So, if Black Widow does indeed hit theaters, gets that international release, gets that international money, Disney did say that they're responding to the environment, that they are in. So if we are still kind of locked down in May, I wouldn't be surprised to see Black Widow on some sort of premium access on Disney Plus.
After this, I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they just do another release date and shift everything another section down. But I mean, I'm gonna cross my fingers for May. We've been sitting on this for a long time, and it's a movie that doesn't actually move the MCU forward that we know of. So it's interesting that they've held on to it so long. So there's got to be something interesting going on here for sure. But also in May, we're going to be getting the Loki show, which I think is actually my most anticipated MCU show for this year.
Okay.
So that they did say it's in May. They didn't give us an exact date, but I mean again, as soon as Falcon and Winter Soldier wrap up, guess what? They're going to be right into Loki, I bet.
I would imagine in a traditional world without a pandemic, Loki probably wouldn't be dropping the same week that Black Widow would come out.
Yeah.
Seems like they would want to at least spread that marketing out at least by a week or two. So I would expect maybe first half, second half of May.
Yeah, well, Black Widow's the first weekend in May, I think, and then I assume Loki be the last weekend. So yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, for sure. In June, Sony still has Venom: Let There Be Carnage slated as well, so we may be getting this Venom sequel they've been working on that introduces Carnage to this universe. I'm surprised we haven't got a trailer for this, to be completely honest. I really thought they would actually be I mean, they probably have been working on trailers, but we've had 2 Morbius trailers, but no Venom 2 trailer that I know of.
Yeah, let's see what Andy Serkis can do.
Yeah.
I mean, Venom, as we know from the box office numbers, made almost I would say all of its money, right? Internationally. That's where it made its big bucks. So it seems like Venom probably feels safe with that month, because it seems like theaters are open in other parts of the globe. So yeah, maybe it'll be safe there in June.
Well, and also, again, we talked about this before, is, that the first Venom trailer sucked. It had no symbiote in it, right? Remember? They had the scenes but no effects in them. And then they add it later. So maybe they're like, hey, we're going to make sure these symbiotes, since we got 2 of them that are supposed to look visually different, actually do really, really, really well. So that's the hope there. And it made 25% of its money domestically on Venom. I just looked it up just because I was because I remember last time I said it made $1 billion. It did not make $1 billion. It made $856 million, which is still a lot of money for them. So yeah, I wholeheartedly expect that to be everywhere. In July, we get Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the next Marvel movie. Again, still surprised we haven't seen the trailer for this one yet, really holding that tight to the chest. Originally, this was supposed to be February of this year and after Eternals, but they've moved their slate around a little bit. And we've seen the Ten Rings in every Iron Man movie so far, so now we get to see what's really going on with the Ten Rings here and open that up.
This will be a big deal because this will be the first MCU movie to possibly push the kind of timeline forward, right?
Yeah.
Black Widow is going to be happening in the past. Who knows? We might get some sort of tag that keys us in on what's going on in current times. But I'm excited to go into Shang-Chi to see what's the MCU up to now moving forward. WandaVision, it seems like she might be in some sort of secret bubble. We don't really know what's going on there. Loki's in this weird alternate reality. I suppose Falcon and the Winter Soldier could be, that's going to be modern times and moving things forward. But me out there, fans who's always on the lookout for a case of prequelitis. I'm trying to dodge that stuff. I like moving forward. Right. So Shang-Chi will move us forward.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm really curious what these Ten Rings are. We get a martial arts film again. Simu Liu, we showed that off last week. His little side project film. It looks really good for that. I'm excited to see what they do with this movie and how they handle this. On HBO Max and in theaters in August is The Suicide Squad from James Gunn.
Yeah,
really excited for this. A huge team, large number of really weird people coming together. I don't know much about this, but it looks like a fun time.
Yeah, I believe it's officially been rated R now. I think maybe James Gunn said it, so I think that just maybe happened recently. So expect the Suicide Squad to be rated R.
Yeah, I think they were shooting for an R rating, but again, I don't think they rated them until like a month before, do they? Or 2 months before?
Yeah, well, that could be from the official, and what is it, MPAA?
Yeah,
Is that no?
yeah.
That's something different. Or is that
the
what it
Movie
is?
Picture Association. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That they bring down the official word, but it sounds like James Gunn is shooting for that big old R.
yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure like all the interviews, everyone's like, yeah, we're going for R rating, and I don't doubt that one bit if they let him do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen any of James Gunn's earlier kind of short film stuff,
Yeah.
it's all very rated R and raunchy, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm sure he's happy to return to that form.
Well, also, if one of the benefits of going to streaming is, guess what? You don't have to rate your movies.
yeah, that's true.
You don't have to go through MPAA, so they can put anything on there and go with it. October is the Uncharted movie, hopefully, with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
So this movie that they've been saying they're gonna make for years, finally said they filmed it and it's done. So
I hope this is good. I want this movie to be so good. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high, but I want this to be like the next franchise.
Yeah.
I want this to be a thing. I want to be looking forward to Uncharted films so bad.
yeah, we need something to fill a modern Indiana Jones, right? Like, and this is an opportunity to do so with an age appropriate cast who could go on for a couple sequels. Marvel's Eternals finally hits in November. Another year pushed back on it from last November. I've been seeing some of their toys have been coming out lately because of the action figures were supposed to hit in November to begin with of last year. So like they've been coming out like apparently the Eternals are not together as a team when this movie opens. So like we're gonna see them have to come together for something. I don't know, but like I'm starting to see more and more smaller synopses pop out based on these action figures. So I'm actually probably in my head way more off than I thought I was on this movie. So that's really exciting. To we love being surprised here. All-Star cast. I want to see a trailer for this as well, and maybe a little tease. Show us their outfits in live action. That's what I want to see. And lastly, the Marvel Disney team up movie Spider-Man 3, whatever it's going to be called. Some people have said, maybe it's called Home Worlds because they have all the Spider-Man coming together, which that's a good name. But I think they'll come up with something good for this. So, Spider-Man, again, all three of them, I think, or all two of them have been great. This one seems to be the most ambitious project thus far.
Yeah, this is going to be the craziest movie of the year, right? For many different reasons. I mean, Tom Holland, huge star, his third Spider-Man solo film, Sony, Marvel. There's just so much that goes into this film, and all of these rumors and castings and people going to be in it. I mean, this is gonna hit big, right? This is gonna hit huge. I mean, as we know historically, the last third Spider-Man movie we had from Sam Raimi, I think that made box office history.
Yeah.
It's obviously all been rewritten by now, but third Spider-Man movies usually show up pretty hard at the box office if you're just going on the previous one that hit. So that's going to be big. That's going to make a big old splash. Hopefully I can go to the theater and watch it, right? I hope everything's back to normal by December.
Yeah, or at least a better experience than currently for that. But also, it's John Watts, the director of all three Spider-Man movies, was given the reins to Fantastic Four for Marvel. So, will this be the one that breaks the camel's back, or will he essentially be the one-man Russo brother of this, where he takes one franchise to a new level and keeps going?
I mean, I know there's reports out there about the Sony Marvel relationship continuing on into the future, but this could possibly be John Watts's last Spider-Man movie, right?
Yeah.
If he's going to move on to his his own kind of his own series with the brand new characters. I don't know. I'm down for it. It's going to be crazy. I'm still a little nervous because I'm always worried about the joint custody between Sony and Marvel. But I've enjoyed every Spider-Man movie I've seen so far from this crazy relationship. So there's no reason not to get excited.
Exactly, and especially with all the rumors coming out of this one, we got a lot. So. That's what I got for looking forward to 2021, Mike. No huge predictions here. But we've got a lot of unknowns, things without release dates, a lot of Marvel shows, some Star Wars shows, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised if we got some unexpected announcements throughout the year. But I mean, I think it looks pretty good.
I kind of have a slightly sad prediction when it comes to kind of nerd culture in general. Is if San Diego Comic-Con happens again this year, which usually it's always been slated for July, I feel like it's just not going to be as big, right? Which some people might really enjoy, right? I've always heard people lambast how big the con has got, and now it's not about comic books anymore, and it's just a bunch of teenagers running around talking about vampires. This was back in the day when Twilight kind of overtook Comic-Con, but the sentiment has kind of stuck around for some people. I feel like things aren't going to quite be ready for big expos to come back, especially in Southern California, by July. So if it comes back in any form, it's just going to be very, very small. It's not going to quite hit that grand scale. So it's probably going to be 2 years in a row that I'm not going to be at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
This year by force, and probably, or last year by force, and this year probably by choice, because I'm not going to risk that big crowd of people until things are safe. So
yeah,
it's sad, but things press on, and we still get all the announcements in some form. It just doesn't happen to be in a big grand ballroom.
Yeah,
right?
and honestly, the Comic-Con this year was just disappointing all around.
Oh yeah, Comic-Con at home.
I mean, DC did their own fandom. Disney did their own. It was their investors' call, but hell, it was bigger than a convention announcements that they made before. So I mean, what prevents them from doing that going forward and just not necessarily making Comic-Con? Like, what is Comic-Con going to offer to make them want to come back, right? Like, what's the point there? What's the draw? So, it's going to be interesting to see, what everyone kind of goes through, and how that looks like. I always go to C2E2. I may skip 2021. It's not till December, but I don't know what that's going to look like in Chicago at that time of year. And, people traveling from around the world to get there. I still don't know what that looks like in December. So I'm going to, wait cautiously and patiently. But like I said, I may skip my first C2E2 since the convention opened, just because of that. So we'll see how it goes.
Sad face. What a sad note to end the podcast.
Yeah,
on,
damn it. All right, Mike. Well, since I'm gonna go over here and cry after this, where can people find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see what your opinion is on these newfangled 3D Doritos. Well, I guess they're not new. The return of the 3D Doritos. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN. People want to know more about what we're up to, go listen to our old reviews we did for Wonder Woman or Soul last week. Where can they find all that at?
Well, it's so easy, Chris. All you have to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host the show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to see our best and our worst of the year, and if you want to see everything coming up, head on over, check out our show notes. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like ours. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out if you're enjoying the show, if you're hating the show, if you don't like our opinions, if you agree with our opinions, whatever you're feeling about the show, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we love our super fans of the show. All you have to do if you want to be a super fan, I'm running out of steam here at the end of the show, is you just got to share the show with a friend. Share the show with a buddy. Keep wearing your mask and social distancing until we're out of this madness, and we will be here every week, folks.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I'm not wearing them right now. I'm just wearing normal earbuds. But those AirPods Pros, they're a dream.
I'm glad you agree, because I was worried that you wouldn't.